Hi guys, today is December the 31st, 2019 at 24 minutes past 7 in the morning over here in the UK. North Korea's Kim Jong-un calls for offensive measures as nuclear deadline looms. We've obviously been watching out for this potential late Christmas gift, the deadline they've been talking about for the last year. Thus, we've been also talking about it for the last year. Obviously, with December 31st and the potential for ICBM launches and potential for nuclear weapons in relation to the iPad Go 2 video, that's similar to the house over here. There's an NY reference in there, so I'm not going to touch the screen really too much. There's an NY reference in there, there's a main reference in there. Obviously the house is shaped like a rocket, a nuclear symbol, similar to what a nuclear symbol would be, flames around it. So the suggestion is some sort of nuclear launch, nuclear test. There's obviously a reference to 3, there's 1 there. So with the NY reference also being a reference for New Year as well as New York, you've got that reference to look out for. But there's also January the 3rd, could be that reference there. Or it could go beyond just within the year of the pig, January 13th, for example. Excuse me, the computer over there. But that's just one of the things we're looking out for. So that's in relation to these reports that are now ramping up towards the end of this year. And then we've got Jews in New York being attacked quite a lot. The news was talking about it a lot today, covering a lot of the Jewish attacks over the last year. And I feel like that's having another connection to another point in the video, maybe this part here, where the star represent Jews or Israel, and the Statue of Liberty obviously placed outside New York. So it could be maybe tomorrow or today they do something in New York to symbolize their unity with the Jewish community and potentially Israel. But then you also have the tsunami just over here, and that could be connected with the nuclear launch if there is one, or nuclear test if there is one. So again, something to look out for, and that's in connection with these events that have been happening in New York over the last year or so. And then there was this report that I found interesting. This shark called Ironbound was spotted off the coast of Florida, and that again made me think of iPad Go 2, because at the moment Donald Trump is in Florida, and in this scene here it's pointing to the shark and Florida at the same time. Bush was also in Florida when the 9/11 attacks happened, so it could be, as we've looked at before in the past, maybe Donald Trump will be in Florida when these events unfold. And I think it's going to be there for some time. Again, in relation to 31, he will be, excuse me, come back out. He will be in New York, not New York, sorry, in Florida. Let me just skip a couple stories and just go here. He was also thanked recently for foiling New Year's attacks in Russia. That was with the help of the FBI, so found that interesting again, considering there's connection with submarines and potentially Russia launching attacks on the United States around New Year's in these interpretations. Obviously may or may not happen, hopefully it doesn't. But again, that was just something to look out for. Let's go back to where I am. So obviously the whole scene, I don't know, see if it's not letting me, but you can just read from the title here anyway. This was just going to talk about a 2-part storm, cold front moving in on the northeast of the United States, and obviously that again just connects to the whole iPad Go 2 video with the wintry scene that's seen throughout the entire video. Then you've got Russia deploys hypersonic missile into combat duty. So obviously, as I just said, while Putin is thanking Donald Trump for foiling potential terrorist attacks on New Year's Eve in Russia, They've also got the only hypersonic equipment in combat, well, combat ready, in use basically. And again, that just brings me back to the video again. I'm not sure if I brought it up on the screen anywhere or saved it in any screenshots, but if you're familiar with the video, we're just looking at the missile. There we go, just a bit of it. Again, showing that potential for 31 in there, something we're looking out for. But again, all those 31s could reference to January the 3rd, for example, so that's something to keep your potential watch on. But this obvious missile, as well as other things, both could potentially be connected to Russia, where obviously the Peacock rumors connected to Russia, and then you've got the hypersonic missile called Avangard, which is also connected to Russia, and the ghostly image that is hidden on the board, where that appears, the missile or penis appears right on the forehead of that character, suggesting a reference to D-head. Obviously, I'm not going to say the full vulgar terminology, but again, in very early interpretations, even though it's a ghost image, I got the sense that it was either an Asian guy or Putin. And I know it's hard to confuse those two, they're very different, but those are the two different characteristics I got from this ghostly image that's sitting on the board here. And for those of you who are thinking, what ghostly image, obviously you can see where these white eraser marks appear. This is where they've kind of given you a clue that something was drawn here and has been rubbed out. So I mean, now I can see it very clearly, where before it was sort of just a suggestion. You know, there's many images on here, two demon heads just here. Even if you can't see them, you should be able to see that there's similar markings, a line that goes here, a line that goes here, a dot here, a dot here. That's like the eyebrow and the eye. And then if you want to see the rest, you can check out the hidden images on the chalkboard video that I have on my channel. So there's a lot that we're just keeping our eyes out for, and a lot of news reports are coming up in the last day of the year that could potentially be connected to this video. For example, the US strikes 5 facilities in Iraq and Syria linked to Iranian-backed militia. And again, where I just go back to the video, I see this scene here where we've interpreted as Iran being potentially attacked by 1 missile and then retaliating with 5, but then we've got 5 missiles here, and it could be those are the 5 attacks on the Iranians in Iran that actually caused the retaliation from Iran. As they've been saying, there's gonna be consequences for the attacks that the United States have just perpetrated. And obviously this is all linked to the USS Abraham Lincoln scene. You can see there's a submarine here. I can't really draw on the screen because it won't let me actually. If I do that, then it will. So you can see, am I drawing? No, I'm not. Let's just quickly go. See the outline of the top of the submarine just there. The outline of what could be classed as an aircraft carrier over here, and the tsunami waves, or at least turbulent waves, are just there, suggesting some sort of activity in the background. You can see some form of explosion has taken place that could be related to a nuclear detonation or a volcanic eruption. We've got many interpretations for those things, but again, it could be related. 5 missile strikes that could be from the United States, rather than coming from Iran. We could actually see something different coming from Iran, which could be related to this scene here, where they're coming out on the boats, and we have the potential for the Strait of Hormuz being blocked. And going back to the reports, I'm not sure if I've brought them up here, but yes, you can see that the US Navy confirmed in these satellite images that were posted online that it was 18 fast attack craft from Iran which were swarming around the USS Abraham Lincoln in the Strait of Hormuz earlier this month. So, you know, the events are kind of there. These are the Iranian attack boats, as you can see, circled in red, and they're around the USS Abraham Lincoln strike carrier group. So that scenario that was never on the table in the real world for a long time, even though we've been looking at it for a long time, is now actually, there. The aircraft carrier is in the region. They've got all these little boats, these Iranians coming out on boats, and it all just kind of links back to early interpretations of these scenes here. The Strait of Hormuz, Iran coming out with missiles and stuff, There's other deeper layered interpretations like Al-Qaeda and ISIS joining up, or, bigger terrorist organizations being formed, Pakistan coming up against India. In that reference, or in that particular case, it could be in relation to this story, which again is recent. Kashmir, which Pakistan and India fight over. There's rumors that Pakistan is planning to take direct control over its part of Kashmir, which would obviously have major effects between, or major, what's the word I'm looking for? Consequences between India and Pakistan. And we know that India is in the video with the Kali mask and the blue figure. And here we have Osama bin Laden, excuse me, a representation of Iran as well as Pakistan. So there's a lot really going on, as there always is, but end of year's coming up, looking out for a lot of things connected to 31 New Year's, and there just seems to be a lot of coincidences coming up, and then this Google Doodle, just do this at the end, was came out pretty stark to me. Straight away I saw these edges of the city where they've done it in dark shadow as submarines. Instantly saw that as submarines, and then I was looking at these explosions and I realized there's 6 explosions, but one of them has not exploded, and it's the only one that tails off into a green light streaming from the end of what is supposed to be a firework. And I was thinking maybe that one is a missile and the rest are fireworks. But then I was thinking, if they're fireworks, then why do the lines start below the waterline? Fireworks don't come from below the water. Missiles from submarines do, for example. And then I was thinking maybe these are signifying intercepted missiles, and one of them, go back, what are you doing? Yeah, so maybe these all signify intercepted missiles, but one of them gets through. And obviously there's this reference to New Year's here, but I was looking at the frog's eyes here that they've got here as well, and the frog obviously representing an amphibious creature relating to the water, but the frog's eyes also bring into mind like a crescent moon and maybe a partial eclipse, which is around January the 10th, and that's kind of the day before January the 11th, where I do have a watch warning placed for a couple of events. You see that on the previous video on my channel. But yeah, that's the way I saw it. Fireworks don't start below the water. They've drawn these dark silhouette edge of the city parts as, I see them as, dark submarines. There's obviously other hidden imagery in the buildings which my brain is, I think my subconscious is picking up, but it's not coming to the forefront just yet. But obviously, I'll keep looking. But that was just what I thought. Intercepted missiles, one gets through, coming from below the ocean, related to submarines. So, something to look out for. Obviously, there's a few key reports that we've talked about over the years, or over the last year at least. One, Russia and Poseidon, potential for that being involved in any sort of attack on the United States or even the UK. There's also Iran, who's been working on submarines, and North Korea, who've been working on submarines as well. But there's also China, and they've also been working on hypersonic missiles as well. And they may not be as forthcoming with the information relating to their successes in that area of technology as the Russians. So, you know, and then there's always the possibility of a false flag, the events being perpetrated by the countries themselves in order to instigate war with another country or several other countries. You guys just keep in watch. Have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Heavenly Father bless you.